Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geek Speak, the podcast. I'm your host, Sydney, and I lost my voice. So I will be speaking like this for the remainder of the podcast. I'm so sorry if you find me annoying. But anyway, I have some really creative guests with me today. Nicole and Cassidy, welcome. Nicole and Cassidy are designers. So guys, tell me a little bit about design.
Yeah, sure.
I hate my voice so much.
Thanks for having us here today. We love what we do, and we always keep it real up in design.
Very true.
Okay, so let's just dive right into it. Let's talk about industry trends and keeping in line with these trends.
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the most important things of design is keeping on top of what's fresh. If you're not looking at what's fresh, your design is going to become easily dated, and that's like what everyone's favorite thing is when you go to a website and it looks like it's from 1995, even though it is a trend right now. But yeah, so it's important as a designer to stay on trend, just as you would in any other field. Marketing, you know, everything that's going on in the industry there. So kind of to do that, we align ourselves by looking at the latest and greatest insights. We belong to different communities online. We keep ourselves fresh by designing on Dribble. Going to different conferences and everything like that, but I think there's some things that pop out and you kind of are like, oh, this seems really cool, let's give it a try, and kind of align with that.
I think too, when you're designing, especially in the tech industry, if you don't stay updated, the world evolves around you. So if you miss out on one update, if you miss out on one cool thing that's happening, all of a sudden you're back how many years?
Yeah.
And the world's evolving without you. So.
There's like really nothing worse like when you go to a web page and it's just so disgustingly horrible.
Yeah, that happens to us all the time. Not even web pages, just everything. We'll see street signs and we'll be like, oof, that font.
Being a designer has like ruined the world for me, because I'll like get a package of cereal and I'm like, oh, I can't get that. It's Comic Sans.
That is Comic Sans.
Bad. Or I've used that stock photo.
Yeah, no Comic Sans, no papyrus.
Yeah.
So something that being a designer you have to focus on is the branding and the role of branding in your campaigns. So how does being a designer incorporate and work with branding?
Branding is huge. So especially when we're working on a marketing campaign, we like to say it's the backbone of a strong campaign. So we kind of have this analogy where we think of it like a house. So when you build a house, it needs to have a strong foundation. We call that foundation the brand. So if you're building a house and you're starting to grow it and you put on level for different parts of the campaign and it's not supported by that foundation, your house isn't going to stand, it's going to fall down. So if you have a poor brand, not fully developed, your colors aren't decided on, it's not cohesive on all elements, nothing really feels connected, you're going to have a poor marketing campaign. It's not going to be properly built from the bottom up. So in order to kind of have that strong foundation, first you need to build a brand. That's why we like to start building a brand first and concepting ideas. A strong identity is key to marketing success for sure.
It's everything. It's your whole identity. So you can't sell the house if you don't know what the house is.
But ultimately, I feel like the house would just it would just crumble eventually. It would just never be able to be sustainable.
It's like when you think about it in web terms, if you're building a website, okay, you could just hop on, grab a template if you wanted to, or just start creating something. But if you don't know who the client is, who the identity of it is, it could be anybody's website. And people will take to that and not grab onto it because they're like, I don't know who this brand is. I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, you definitely have to, especially the younger generations, you need to establish a brand, because if you don't have a brand, like a brand, I don't know why I just became British for a second. If you don't have a brand, I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm not gonna support you. I'm not gonna buy your product. Like, that's just wild.
The storytelling aspect is like huge. Like, I think that is something that a lot of people take for granted with brands, and they don't realize like there's a lot of thought process behind that and curating that story and how many different teams go into a part of that, and really, like you're saying, engaging with your audience. Because if there's no brand and there's no story, there's no emotional attachment. And the goal is to really take your followers, take those that are interested in you, and turn them into ambassadors for your brand, and really build up that brand loyalty, because without loyalty, your brand is going to flop.
Yeah. So you guys are creative. And we talked a little bit about like web design, but creative is like there's a bunch of different types of creative across the board. So what are the different types of creative?
I mean, creative touches everything.
I was just going to say the exact words. Like,
Yeah.
you can't pick up anything in the world without being like, there were choices that were made to create this.
I never thought of it like that. And
It's
then I just got
crazy.
like Devil Wears Prada vibes. You know, when she's like, you were wearing a sweater that was picked
True.
out.
Yeah.
When you were
It's true. Yeah, I didn't realize I just channeled that right now.
Yeah, love that. Miranda Priestley. But yeah, I mean, creative touches everything. Print, digital, branding, like you were talking about. I mean, like we were saying too, if you're looking at something, there's something attached to it, and it's a brand, it's a story. I mean, we do all different types of print, business cards, catalogs, brochures, like everything. And then even just the website in and of itself, I feel like there's so many elements that we create for that, like whether it be slider images or a panel here, like what's the point of the panel? Like, it's almost like we look at everything as elements. When we're building something, it's kind of like, okay, here's like my Legos, like I'm gonna build each piece like specifically, and they'll be able to stand on their own and tell a story, but when they come together, it's like a fuse.
Yeah. It's almost like you're not creating one product, you're creating an entire like identity, like personality. It's this like entity that's going to branch off into so many different things, and your brand has to be strong enough that it can be converted into something that's for print. It can be converted into social media presence and things like that. So it's all really important to take into account when you're starting the brand from scratch.
Can we go into how a company, an organization, a small business would be able to firmly establish their brand from the beginning?
I think a lot of it, the first thing when you think of brand is a lot of people think of logo. But even before logo, I think Cassidy and I start thinking typography and colors.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So,
Don't even get me started on those colors.
Oh yeah. So we kind of approach it to like a mood board effect is what we do. So we'll kind of like come up with this identity for a brand. We'll come up with a certain amount of words, like really like identify what we want to reach in that target audience. So we'll be like, okay, here's A, B, and C. Maria's a hipster. Bobby's a sports player. This is what they like. This is why they like it. Kind of what are their personalities and how do we want to evoke that from this brand. So
Wait, so different colors represent different people? That's nuts.
yeah, so like colors can represent different feelings, and that's something that we kind of like totally like to capitalize on. So I mean, like yellow, happy, blue, common string, and also tech, like stuff like that. So we'll kind of think like, oh, like we're doing a technology brand, like blue is really great because it's like the color of everything tech, and then a little bit of orange adds happiness, security, like trust, that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, and then we kind of take it even a step further and kind of like listen to the fonts. And, like,
Oh, they talk to you?
yeah, they talk to us. It's like a gift. Yeah, I can hear fonts.
I dream in fonts.
Yeah, no, we do. It's bad.
Yeah.
So like it sounds silly, but like if you're doing a high-end fashion brand or something like that, it'll be like, oh well, this serif font feels really graceful. It feels really luxe. So we'll kind of play around with different weights, kind of put a bunch on an artboard, match them up, like mix and match, so it'll be like, and then we'll kind of even play with the sizing, the letter spacing, everything. But yeah, I mean, we literally build it down from the smallest detail before we even get to the logo, which is pretty crazy.
I feel like there's nothing that ruins a brand more than a bad font.
Yeah.
Like it'll just send it right downhill. But what I like about starting brands too, and working with new companies and new clients that need to start developing like that, is they don't realize how much of a brand they already have the beginnings of before it even gets to us.
Yeah.
So they'll be like, oh, we are a sustainable company and everything we source is eco-friendly, and it's like, that's your brand, like that's the jumping off point. So I really like getting to know the person we're working with and finding out their sort of nuances that go with how they do their business.
So do you think it's like very difficult for just like regular people to figure out what their brand is and to do their own creative work?
To realize it, probably. I mean, you know what makes you you, you know why your company was set off the ground, but we want to find out what it is that makes you iconic almost. Why are you different than everyone that you've worked there, everyone you're working with and your competitors?
Yeah, I think it's like a little bit of a collaboration that kind of takes their ideas and we kind of like translate it from their head through our eyes onto the screen.
Yeah.
So it's like taking what they want, collaborating, and then making it happen.
That was beautiful. So is there any brands that right now are like your it brands, like you love everything that they're doing?
Right. Well, I love Glossier. Glossier can do no wrong.
Wait, that's how you pronounce it? I thought it was Glossier.
Glossier. We're fancy here.
That's how designers pronounce it.
But I think they did a really good job, and they were one of the first brands in the marketplace, I think, way back to even come across and do a lot of the stuff that they're doing, like very clean, very like light and airy design. Everything they do just looks so hip, and it's almost timeless. It's like so trendy, it's timeless, and like I love it.
That's very true.
Yeah, and the experience is really great too.
I think something I've noticed in the past 2 years, maybe more than that, so are how big Instagram-based brands are becoming because they're so visual and so image-heavy. So you'll be scrolling and you notice this monochromatic flat design and you're like, oh, that looks cool, who posted that? And then it's a brand.
Yeah.
So I love companies like that are getting you to want what it is before you even know what the product is.
There's so I have a gluten allergy. I've never talked about this on this podcast. But revealing myself, I have a gluten allergy. So something I find difficult because I don't eat like grains either, so I don't eat like rice or corn or anything like that. So a lot of like gluten-free pastas have like a rice alternative, but I don't eat it. So I like often do research about gluten-free pastas. And I was getting these ads on my Instagram and they were so aesthetically pleasing to look at. It was like a black and white pattern and a gold hand holding a box of almond flour pasta.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is beautiful. And I like...
Did you buy it?
Oh yes, I did.
Yeah.
I bought that so quick. They have a bunch of different types of pastas. They have fettuccine spaghetti, lasagna, gnocchi, pizza crusts, and cookie dough. All made of almond flour.
I'm like gonna go look this up.
It's called Capello's. They're not our sponsor. I just like them because it takes 90 seconds to cook and it tastes like homemade pasta. But how they looked, I was like, oh wow, like no other pasta brand would ever like go to look like it looked high fashion almost. And I was like, I would be so tasteful if I ate this pasta. Because that's ultimately what I feel like brands need to do is they need to make their consumer feel some type of way. When you see my ad, how do you feel inside?
Right, totally.
And like so much so to a point where you don't even realize you're feeling it and you're just hitting that buy
Exactly.
now.
It's the rapidness of how quick you can do that.
That's how I got my watch.
One of the first brands, I guess on Instagram that I started to notice this with is a company called Brandless. I don't know if you guys have seen those.
Wait, so it's a brand called Brandless?
It's called Brandless.
That's wild.
And it like blew my mind when I first like noticed it because I noticed a clear brand right away, which is crazy. It's called Brandless and their whole I guess slogan or the way that they go about their business is like, why bother paying for the brand? Why bother going to the grocery store and paying for Oreos, paying for I can't think of any other brands right now.
Oh, I buy
Name
bootleg
brand,
stuff
like,
all the time.
Bootleg Oreos.
Oreos, yeah. Why bother paying for the name that you're buying? Buy Brandless and get it so much cheaper, and they just have peanuts or they just have cookies. And
I love that.
So, and at first you're like, yeah, why should I? That's perfect. But then you realize everything they have is like rounded edges. It's got this cool flat color design, this nice possibly Montserrat font, like. It's going, like, it's clearly a brand, and then you're like, their company is called Brandless. There literally is a brand here, and they just tricked you into buying into
Trader Joe's does a good job at that, too.
Oh, yeah.
Because they sell everything from Trader Joe's, but I love, like, the little names that he has, something like Trader Jose or, like, Trader Gianni. I'm like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah, they do a really good job at that whole storytelling.
Yeah, and then, like, I mean, they're one cheaper than other supermarkets, but I'm getting probably equal to better quality stuff, and I feel better because like Trader Joe's brand themselves is like everything is Trader Joe's. They don't sell anything really that's from another brand. They care about their employees. Like everything like looks cool when you go inside. Everyone's wearing a Hawaiian shirt. I love it. It's a party every time you go in there.
Yeah.
So is there any work that you've done yourself that you like it was like the best thing ever for you and you just loved it so much?
Oh gosh, I mean it's kind of hard to single anything
In your
out.
long career of being a designer.
It goes way back than people imagine. When I was little, I used to draw. I did, but
When I was 2 years old,
yeah. My mom always used to tell me I used to like have to like stop what I was doing and I like grab a pencil and run and be like, I have to draw, and then like run to my table to just draw. And I once colored both my arms in highlighters, so that's not creativity. I don't know what is. But those aren't my proudest projects. I feel like, I don't know, everything is just kind of like, every time I think I like something, I'll do something else, and I like that more.
I was just going to say, design is such a growing process, and it's not even like, oh, over the years I get better. It's like, I have a spurt of inspiration, and I do such a great job, and then the next morning I come in and I hate it.
Yeah.
And I come back and I'm like, all right, I need to walk away from it and develop it this way. And it's not a straight path. It's such a branching out process where you take twists and turns and come back. So I don't know. It's almost like you kind of never want to be satisfied with it, but you also need to know when to end it.
What tools do you use to design?
So we use the Adobe Creative Suite, which is like Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. We are pros in Adobe.
Was it difficult to figure out? Because sometimes I'm like, I'll teach myself how to Photoshop. Because everyone, and I'm not even exaggerating, my friend has this thing, she has Facetune.
Yeah.
She got a doorknob off of a door. Like, I don't know how she eliminated this doorknob. And I was like, if you could do that to a door,
what can you do to my
what can
face?
you do to my face? And it's nuts. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
I do a
how
lot
to
of
do it.
crazy stuff. I joke that I'm a Photoshop dentist. I
You
whiten
whiten
teeth,
teeth?
I straighten teeth. I'm also a Photoshop nail artist. I've given manicures, full manicures. Yeah.
Plastic surgeon.
Yep.
Oh my
There's
god.
a lot you could do.
Okay, well, I think our time is up for today, which is so sad because I enjoy talking so much, but my throat really hurts because I'm laughing. It hurts. All right. So my Geek Speak listeners, I'm so sorry to break the news to you like this, but today is actually my last podcast here at Geek Speak. I'm so upset. But I want to do big things, so you'll see me one day. It's fine. Thank you, Nicole and Cassidy, for joining me today. It's been a real treat.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. We're going to miss you.
This is Sydney from Geek Speak signing off.